guys, today I'll be sharing a project from our Mexican art unit study. This one was a painting of cactuses in a pot, and we were learning how to use repeating patterns and how to fade two colors together to get a realistic looking sky. We're using regular white paper. You can use thick paper if you want to because we will be painting it. We're also using watercolors, brushes, and Sharpie markers. You can use any kind of color that you want. Get ready to follow along with us. Here we go. So to get started on these Mexican cactus paintings, we've got white paper, paintbrush, water, permanent marker, and watercolors. First, we're going to need our white paper and our permanent marker. It doesn't have to be a Sharpie brand, but it can't be a washable marker because in a moment we're going to go over this with watercolors, and washable markers will fade away and smear. So I've got my paper in the vertical position going up and down long ways, and we're going to start by drawing the pot that the cactus is going to grow in. So go up about halfway to your paper. If you want to use a ruler, you can. I'm just going to freehand this, but you can always use a ruler to get those super straight, perfect lines. So first, I'm making a straight line across the middle of my paper, and it goes almost to the edges, but not quite to the edges. So start with a straight line across the middle. Next, I come down to the bottom, and I'm going to go almost to the bottom, but not exactly. I'm leaving a little space. This line I want to be shorter than the one up here. It's still in the middle, but at the bottom. So this is the top and bottom of our vase. Now I'm going to do the sides of the vase. I enjoy a nice curved vase like our friend in class did. This is a really nice curve that she's got here. Yours could be a straight vase if you want it to be, but I'm going to show you how to do that curved side. So from the top line to the bottom line, just a nice gentle curve. And we'll do that on both sides. Now for the designs on the pot. We can use any kind of design that we want to. Our friend here, she's used hearts, circles, zigzag lines, swirly lines. It even looks like she used some smiley faces and awesome stuff like that. So it doesn't matter what designs you make, but first we've got to have a place for them to go. So we're taking some more of these horizontal lines going from side to side all down the vase. It doesn't really matter how close you put them to each other. They could be this close, you can make them further apart, you can make them even closer together. It's totally up to you how you want your horizontal stripes to go on your cactus vase. So once I have all of those on, now it's time for me to start adding all of those designs. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through mine because I know it is super boring to watch me do stuff. But I'm just adding designs like lines, shapes, designs, zigzags. It can really be any kind of design that you want it to. So take a minute and add all kinds of designs to your pot. Now I'm finishing up the last design on my cactus pot. So let's start adding some cactuses to this cactus pot. We're going to learn 3 different kinds of cactuses, and it's absolutely up to you if you want to use all 3 kinds of cactuses or just the one that you like or 2. It's totally up to you what kind of cactuses you put in your cactus pot. So the first one we're going to learn is the easiest one. This one is an upside down U shape or a rainbow line. So I'm going to make it wherever I want, in the middle, to the left, to the right. And I'm going to make it in my pot so it's kind of overlapping underneath the pot there. We can add some lines to it to make it look like it's prickly. And we can add a flower to this, and the flower I'm going to use is just 1, 2, 3 little bumps. The next cactus is kind of like that cactus that looks like he's a guy with his arms waving in the air. You could have both arms going up, both arms going down, one up, one down, however you want to. And here's how we make that one. 2 vertical lines. And then whether you want it going up or down, you're going to use a curved line that loops back around into a U shape. And maybe I'll do one up, one down so you can see both. And we finish this guy by making an upside down U shape for the top. Some more prickles on it. And maybe I'll do a different shape of flower on this cactus. Maybe I'll do kind of a star-shaped pointy flower. This one is just a zigzag line that I wrap in a circle. And the last cactus that we're going to look at is a tall one that's got spines all the way down the side. So this one we don't actually start at the bottom, we're going to start it up at the top with another rainbow line. The sides of this cactus are going to look like C shapes that are right connected to each other. So I would go all the way down with more C, 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 C. And on the other side is a backward C, 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 C. I like to add vertical lines on this one just to give it a little more detail and make it a little more cactusy. And we can put more flowers on this one if you want flowers on yours. Of course, these are your cactuses. It's totally up to you. So now we're ready to start painting these. I'm going to start with my cactuses and my flower pot, and they can be any kind of color that you want. I like to leave my cactuses green to make them more realistic. The stripes on the pot you can do in any color that you want, but I really recommend doing every stripe in a different color. It's okay that this kid put brown and brown because she didn't put them right next to each other, so that's totally okay. But you don't want to go through all the trouble of making these gorgeous stripes just to fill them all in one color. You don't want to be a lazy artist. So the flowers can also be any kind of color that you want to. When we looked at them in class, we mostly saw that they were reds, oranges, yellows, and some even pinks and whites. But you can use any kind of color that you want. So let's speed this up and I'm going to show you how we are painting our bowl and our cactuses. Okay, so now the cactuses and the cactus pot are both painted and we're ready for the sky and the background. So first I'm going to use my permanent marker and I'm going to make a line going behind the pot to show that it's setting down on the ground and it's got the sky behind it. It is absolutely up to you what kind of ground you want it to have. It could be setting on a table, it could be setting on flat ground, hilly ground, there might even be some mountains in the background. So it's really up to you however you want yours to look, however you want yours to be setting on the ground. So I've just added a couple of lines, maybe I wanted some mountains in the back and it's setting down on the ground. So now we're going to go to the sky. And this cool trick is fading colors together to show that it's kind of like a sunset. When you're doing this, you want colors that are analogous. And analogous means colors that are close to each other on the color wheel. If we look at our color wheel, we're going to see that red, orange, and yellow are right next to each other. So on my giant color wheel that I've got here, we're going to see that reds, oranges, and yellows are all analogous. They're all right next to each other on the color wheel. So I'm going to start with my darkest, and I know it's not really the darkest, but the darkest color at the top, which would be red. So I'm going to get some red on my brush, and the key to doing an awesome sky is to make sure that you go in horizontal lines, taking your time. So first, I'm going to make a horizontal red stripe across the top of my paper. Now this time I'm not going back to get any paint on my brush. I'm leaving it just as it is and I'm going to make another stripe right underneath it. Again, I'm not going back to get more stuff on my brush. I'm just taking another line right across my paper, and right here you start to see that I'm running out of paint. So now instead of going back to get more paint, I'm actually just going to get some water to fade that together. So the next color that I'm going to use is orange because it was the next one on the color wheel. So I'm getting my brush rinsed and I'm going to get some orange. And I'm going to keep doing what I was just doing. I'm going to take another horizontal line across my paper. And what happens here is it's actually kind of jarring. This goes straight from red to orange, and that is not as realistic as you want it to be. So I'm going to get some water on my brush, and I'm going to make a line that goes right between the red and the orange. And it's going to fade these two colors together. I'm not getting any more paint on my brush. I'm going to go below my orange, and I've just got some water. I can go back and get some more water, and I can pull my colors down. Oh, careful not to get orange on the cactus. And the next color on my list was yellow, so I'm going to grab some yellow. And I'm going to make a yellow line. Now the same thing happens that happened when we went from red to orange. It's got that really quick jump from color to color that doesn't look realistic. So I've got to make sure to pull that yellow up into the orange. pushing it up there. And then without getting more yellow on my brush, I can paint another horizontal line until I start to run out of paint. Now I know that I'm only going to do red, orange, and yellow, but I've got all this space here between my sky and my ground. I gotta go all the way to the ground, so I'm just going to make the rest of my sky yellow. I start to get really close down here. I want it to fade out, so I've got no paint on my brush. I've just got water, and I'm going to fade that color right down to my horizon line, right down to that mountain that I made. Okay, so now for the ground, it's totally up to you if you want it to be grassy colored or rock colored or dirt colored. Absolutely up to you. I have taken, for some reason, the brown and black out of my paints, so I'm going to make it a purple ground because that's what I happen to have. I think I took those out because our poor kindergartners kept mixing up their paints and making them all dark and yucky. So I'm going to have some purple mountains, and oh, let's do just green grassy at the bottom. I think I would have preferred to have black and brown for this last bit, but that's okay. And the same thing with the ground as with the sky. It's going to look really nice and realistic if you do horizontal lines. It doesn't look as real if we do stuff like that. That's not going to look like a real ground. But if you take horizontal lines straight across, you're going to get a nice even coat, and it's going to look like real grass. Okay, friends, that is it. That is how we made our Mexican cactus painting with all the nice patterns and the realistic fading sky. See you guys next time. Bye.